An editorial published in the Guardian newspaper, the Brazilian president and host of COP30, Lula da Silva, says the era of bold statements and good intentions has ended. This COP, he says, is the time for action, a moment of truth. Well, here are the truths, as spelt out by the UN Secretary-General yesterday. The target of 1.5 degrees Celsius will be missed. World leaders, he says, are still in hock to the fossil fuel companies and the billions they're paying in lobbying at a time when renewed efforts are required. The biggest polluters, America, China, India, are not even at the table. The consensus on net zero that was agreed at previous COPs is unravelling. So, as delegates arrive for the official opening on Monday, what does concrete action look like? Let's go to Belém and our colleague Ione Wells. Ione.
Well, today the focus here at COP30 is going to be on the energy transition. World leaders are going to be marking 10 years since the Paris Climate Agreement, where countries agreed to limit global warming to up to 1.5 degrees Celsius, something which the UN has warned the world is not on track to do at the moment. We are expecting that world leaders are going to be meeting to discuss the energy transition, although one of the things that has been holding progress back at this COP is that many countries did not submit their plans as they were supposed to before this COP took place to outline how they plan to cut their carbon emissions. Now, we can speak now to Elisa Morgera, who is the UN Special Rapporteur for Climate Change and Human Rights. Thank you for joining us on BBC News, Elisa. Elisa, I wanted to start by asking you about something you've said in interviews before, which is that there is no space for the truth at COP. What did you mean by that?
That unfortunately, so far, we have not focused on the key scientifically based priorities for effective climate action at the COP. So last year at COP29, we did not have a decision on mitigation. And we know that we're now facing the 10th year in a row of hottest temperature we've ever faced. So having a focus on mitigation, and in particular on the fossil fuel phase out, is essential. And it is one of the moments of truth, because we know there is no doubt in climate science, but in fact in broader environmental and human health science, the fossil fuels are the main cause of climate change and of the other planetary crises we're facing.
Do you think that COP is still fit for purpose? Is there still space for multilateralism to solve some of these problems?
I think we need multilateralism, and I think COP30 is the time to really take a meaningful check of whether it is fit, and if not, what we need to do to make it fit for purpose. In particular, looking at that conversation on mitigation, but also the adoption, for instance, of a work program on just transition, because of course we do want the energy transition to be fair, not to harm workers, not to harm communities who are already facing the brunt of climate change and also the negative impacts of fossil fuels. So we need a meaningful space where all states come together, where we identify who is going to do what by when. And also, and this is why multilateralism is essential, we look at the finance of it all. We look at the duty to provide international finance and technology to all states to leapfrog into renewable-based economies. We need to look at illicit financial flows and debt, which are preventing effective climate action and preventing the phase out of fossil fuels. We need to look at fossil fuel subsidies. So all of that needs to happen in a multilateral forum.
And just briefly, you talk about the energy transition being fair, including communities that are directly affected. What does that look like in practice?
In practice, it means having public conversations with communities who are facing energy poverty, with taxpayers who are facing increasing costs of living, and clarifying what it would mean. Where are we at with our transition to renewables? And we are in a really good place. Renewables are already cheaper than fossil fuels in most parts of the world. So we need to make sure that taxpayers and particularly citizens who are facing hardship because of the fossil fuel-based economies are informed about where we are at with the transition, what else needs to happen, and what kind of resources states must put in place to support those that may face any hardship in that transition, particularly the fossil fuel workers, having safety nets, having support for retraining and moving into a different employment opportunities. And critically looking also at the health benefits of the fossil fuel transition.
Elisa Morgera, thank you so much for speaking to us on BBC News, the UN Special Rapporteur there for climate change and human rights. The energy transition, as I say, will be the main focus of talks here at COP30 today.